Hi, love. Welcome back. Spirit has a message today, and I'm just going to say it. You've been so busy making sure everyone else is okay that you've completely forgotten to ask yourself the same question. And before you decide that this reading isn't for you, I already know your first instinct is to think of someone else in your life who needs to hear this instead. But stay anyway. This message found you for a reason. Maybe it's the sign that you've been praying for. This is a collective reading, so not every word will land for everyone, and that's okay. Make sure that you trust your intuition, take what resonates, and leave what doesn't. You know yourself best. And if anything in this reading stirs something in you, and you want to go deeper into your own situation, I offer private readings through my Etsy shop. You'll find the link in the pinned comment below and in the video description. Before I reveal the cards, I want to add a quick note. Some of you who follow me for a while now know that I work with my Shadow Tarot and my Santa Muerte Tarot cards. And I've seen some comments about the imagery being dark or scary or even negative. So I just want to address that here because I know that these cards are going to bring up the same energy for some people. I want to remind everyone that a card is just ink on paper, and a pendulum is a weight on a string or a chain. These are tools, and a tool has no moral alignment. A knife in the hands of a chef feeds a family. The same knife used differently causes harm. The knife doesn't decide, the person holding it does. All this to say that my intention when I sit down with any of my decks is always healing, guidance, and truth. That doesn't change based on how the artwork looks. And honestly, if looking at cards stirs something uncomfortable in you, I'd invite you to get curious about that feeling rather than closing the tab, because that discomfort, that's not the cards talking, that's you, love. And that is exactly where the real work begins. Now let's see what Spirit has to say. The first card you were given is Succubus. In the pursuit of gratification, one may risk losing oneself in the depths of darkness. Followed by Shinigami. I stand as a reminder that mortality's embrace is but a gateway to eternal transformation. Amanute. True strength lies not in conquest, but in the power to forge unity. Anastasia Romanov. Lost Princess of Grace. My spirit defies the shadows of uncertainty. And Morgana. In the depths of betrayal, the true cost of trust is unveiled. As I sit with these 5 cards, what hits me immediately is that Spirit isn't easing into this one. There's no gentle warm up, no soft landing. Spirit came in direct today, and what it wants to name first, before anything else, is the actual cost of what you've been doing. Because people pleasing has a price, and most people who do it have never fully let themselves look at what the price actually is. They call it kindness, keeping the peace, or being a good person, and Spirit is here today to show you exactly what it's called. Succubus arrives first, and I need you to stay with me here because I know that this card looks intense, but what Spirit is bringing through isn't darkness for the sake of darkness. It's actually a mirror, and the reflection it's showing is this. You have been the one that's being drained, not the one doing the draining. The one whose energy, whose time, peace, and sense of self has been slowly fed upon, all while you keep smiling and saying, I'm fine, and asking others what else they need. The succubus embodies what happens when we keep giving from an empty cup because we're too afraid of what happens if we say no. She urges you to confront your vulnerabilities honestly, to look at the ways that you've been allowing yourself to be taken advantage of without calling it what it is, and to recognize that you have the ability to make choices that nurture your soul rather than deplete it. You just haven't been making them. Then Shinigami steps in, and their presence is still and solemn, And Spirit is being very specific here. Something in you has been dying, not dramatically, but quietly. The part of you that knows what you want, the part of you that used to have preferences, opinions, and needs that you didn't immediately swallow the moment they might inconvenience someone else. The part that existed before you learned that being easy was safer than being honest. The Shinigami are guardians of transition. They're neither good nor evil, simply present at the doorway between what was and what comes next. And Spirit is showing me that you've been in a slow death of self for longer than you want to admit. Every time you said yes, but really meant no. Every time you held your tongue and made yourself smaller to fit someone else's comfort. Those weren't small moments. Those were the moments that cost you pieces of yourself that you never got back. Amanute comes in next, and what I'm feeling with her is so heartbreakingly specific. She was a bridge, a woman who stood between two worlds, absorbing the tension between them and working to keep the peace between people who had very different interests, and giving herself the task of holding things together. And she paid for it enormously. She was captured, renamed, and forced to change the very essence of who she was in service of a purpose that was never fully her own. And Spirit is asking you right now, how long have you been the bridge? How long have you been the one absorbing everyone else's tension, translating everyone else's needs, and holding yourself in a position that serves everyone except you? Because Amanute's story doesn't end in easy peace. It ends in the cost of being the one who always gave more than they received. And you deserve to be on solid ground, my love, not permanently suspended in the middle, carrying everyone else across. Anastasia Romanov arrives next, and this card quietly broke my heart a little, because Anastasia's story is one of a flame that refused to go out, even when everything around her was taken and the world knew she collapsed completely. That inner light, that refusal to be fully extinguished, it endured. And Spirit is bringing her here because this is the most honest description of what people pleasing has done to you. It hasn't killed your flame, but it's brought it so low that some days you can barely feel it. The years of shrinking, of disappearing, of making yourself less so that others could be more, they dimmed something in you that was never supposed to be dim. The flame of resilience burns eternal, no matter how low it seems. But eternal and burning bright were two very different things. And Spirit is asking you, when was the last time that you actually burned bright? And then Morgana closes this first part, and she does not come gently. Morgana was betrayed, stripped of everything, her titles, her recognition, her place, power, and her voice, all by people who feared what she carried. And the wound of that betrayal, left unaddressed, unhonored, and left to fester in silence, became something consuming. Morgana's story is the cautionary tale of what happens when a person keeps absorbing, giving, tolerating, and shrinking until something finally snaps. Until all of the weight of every unspoken no and all of the swallowed feelings and the unacknowledged pain becomes something that they can't control anymore. Spirit isn't saying that this is your destiny. Spirit is saying that's the direction the road goes if you stay on it. The resentment that builds when you keep saying yes and meaning no doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere. And Spirit is asking you to look honestly where it's been going in your life before it finds its own way out. But the story doesn't end here because Spirit has more to say. You received Nimue. From the depths I emerge, bringing gills of wisdom, guidance, and power. Themis. Fairness prevails when truth is upheld. I wield the scales of impartiality. Rapunzel. A captive of my own prison, I gaze upon the world with longing. And finally, Marie Antoinette, I am wrapped in my opulence, unaware of the suffering beyond the gilded walls. As I sat with that first message, the energy shifted into something that felt like revelation. Like Spirit finished showing you the cost, and now it wants to show you what's actually possible when you stop paying it. Nimue arrives first, and her presence is deep and ancient and full of something Spirit has been trying to get back to you for a long time: your wisdom. The Lady of the Lake is a guardian, a mentor, a bestower of power and gifts. She resides in the depths, in the stillness, and in the place underneath all of the noise. And what Spirit is showing me through her is that you have this. You've always had this. That deep knowing about what you need, what's right for you, what your soul is actually asking for underneath all the people pleasing and performing and managing. That wisdom never left. You just stopped trusting it. Every time you overrode your own instinct to keep the peace, every time you told yourself that your feelings were too much or that your needs were inconvenient, Nimue went a little deeper into the depths. But she's still there. And what becomes possible when you start choosing yourself is that you start hearing her again, clearly and without question. And your own inner guidance will rise back to the surface where it belongs. Then Themis steps in with the scales already in her hands. And what I'm feeling with her in this position is not accusation, it's permission. Because Themis is sacred justice, and she's not here to judge you. She's here to remind you that justice applies to you too, that fairness applies to you, and the same standard of care, consideration, and respect that you have extended so generously to everyone else in your life, you're allowed to require it in return. You're allowed to hold the line, to look at what's been taken and say that that wasn't okay. The scales that have been tipped against you for so long start to balance the moment that you decide the weight matters. And Theme is standing here in this position, the Spirit saying that it matters, you matter, and that justice, real justice, begins with how you treat yourself. Rapunzel comes in next, and what I'm feeling here is the most specific and the most hopeful image Spirit could have chosen, because Rapunzel's story doesn't end in the tower. It ends with her getting out. It ends with her finally understanding that the world she was longing for from that window was actually waiting for her, that the freedom she could see but not touch was real and reachable. And Spirit is placing her here to say that so is yours. The life where you take up full space, where you speak your truth, where your needs are not an inconvenience but a priority, where you exist not as a resource for other people, but as a full human being with their own wants, your own voice, and your own right to be fully here. That life's not a fantasy. It's what becomes possible when you stop letting people use your hair as their ladder and start using it to climb down yourself. And then Marie Antoinette closes this entire reading, and what Spirit is bringing through with her feels like the most tender and the most important thing it could offer at the end of all of this. Reclaim your empathy, not for everyone else, but for yourself. Because what people pleasing does at its deepest level is disconnect you from your own experience. You become so attuned to everyone else's feelings that you lose access to your own, and the empathy that you've been pouring outward so freely, the sensitivity, the care, and the ability to feel what others feel and respond to it. Spirit wants you to turn even a fraction of that inward, to ask yourself what you're feeling, to actually sit with the answer and cultivate the same compassion for your own struggles that you've extended without question to everyone around you. Love, understanding your own suffering and treating it with the same gentleness you offer a friend. That's not selfish. That's how you actually heal. And that is what becomes possible when you finally choose yourself. Sit with that for a second. So here's what Spirit wants you to carry with you today, my love. People pleasing has been draining you in ways that you've never fully let yourself name. It's been causing little deaths inside you. It's made you the bridge that everyone crosses while you stand in the middle carrying all of the weight. It has dimmed a flame that was never supposed to be this low. And the resentment of all of those no's has been building somewhere, whether you've been looking at it or not. But underneath all of that, your wisdom is still there. The justice that you've never applied to yourself is still available. The freedom that you've been watching through the window is still waiting for you. And the empathy that you've given so freely to everyone else is yours to reclaim. The person who chooses themselves is not selfish. They're just finally being honest. And honest is the most powerful thing a people pleaser can become. As always, my loves, this was a collective reading, so honor what resonated and gently leave what didn't. Only you know what's meant for you. If anything in this reading touched you and you want to go deeper into your own specific situation, I'm here for you. I offer private readings through my Etsy shop, and you'll find the link in the pinned comment below and in the video description. I would love to read for you. And loves, I want to hear from you. Did this reading describe you? Have you been the one that holds everything together while quietly falling apart inside? If so, tell me about it in the comments. You don't have to have it figured out to say so. Just naming it is the beginning. I genuinely read every single comment, and connecting with you there is one of my favorite parts of doing this. So, love, if this reading found you today and you saw yourself in it, the next time someone asks something of you that costs you your peace, your truth, or any piece of who you actually are, you're allowed to say no. You always were. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'll meet you in the comments.